Hello and welcome to the Magic the Blabbering podcast. I'm your host Nick with Josh, and today special guest Onique. Uh, we're going to be talking everything Cube today. We have our guest Onique is like our resident Cube master, so we're going to go from there. Josh, what did you like to say? How you doing?
I met Onique, I think a couple years ago at MagicCon Vegas. We were in the Black Lotus Lounge together, and I know he has a cube or, has been working on a cube, and we were talking about cube a couple weeks ago. So I was like, let's get Onique on, and let him talk about his cube. And Onique, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
What's up, everyone? My name is Onik. I've been playing Magic for like 25, 30 years since, or maybe a few sets before Tempest, like Weatherlight or something, Portal, all that stuff. Really got it back into Magic. Like, everyone kind of comes and goes playing Magic, but I guess
Yeah.
my most recent in was maybe about like 10 years ago, and I feel like I've been more involved than I've ever been before. And yeah, I mean, this is my cube, all the stuff over here, and it's started off with Magic Arena. He was up, and I've heard of it before, played it, kind of fell in love, and just started making my own pretty much.
So
So
your
yeah, here it
your
is.
cube is your cube is only cards that are available on Arena, right?
It's pretty much if you can craft it on Arena, it's the stuff that I'll consider for my cube.
Yeah.
It's yeah, 540 cards. We can get that in a minute, but yeah, I've brought this cube with me to every MagicCon, so except for um, Amsterdam because that was like a six
Oh,
hour
yeah.
stop in Amsterdam. But yeah, pretty much four Vegas in a row.
Nice. And you've played with some notable people in the Magic universe, right?
Yeah, I suppose like I guess the biggest names that are repeat players. There's Dana Fisher and Adam Fisher. They've joined every year, 3 years or 4 years, and then a few other people. I mean, I did. Josh, did you play Mike with my cube?
I
I
didn't.
don't.
I think it was last year. I showed up, and there was just so much going on that weekend, and you guys had
Yeah,
already started rounds and everything. Was that the year that I think Dana, she like pack one picked one Nissa. I think it was. Uh,
that's probably something she would do. Yeah.
yeah, I remember that happening. So
She always drafts green. She forces green pretty much. One recent time, I actually cut Nissa from her, and then when she realized I did it, at the end of it, she gave me like the dirtiest glare ever. I wasn't even playing green. I just did it kind of more of a reaction sort of thing.
yeah,
But like it was nothing really in a pack. It was like mid pack three. I'm like, I'm just gonna take Nissa, and then it's like see what happens because like some of the other people were on the table like, oh, you're gonna like this pick. And then she's like, "Where is it? It's not there anymore."
Who took my baby?
Yeah, pretty much.
so your cube started with you playing it on Arena. Is that how it started?
Yeah, it was. I don't know how many times Cube was on Arena before I noticed it, and then it was like a holiday. I mean, it was around during a holiday. It's
Yeah,
not necessarily a holiday theme Cube, like December, January, and I played it like two or three times, and then I looked at the list and I'm like, this list is sweet. Well, not that it was a sweet list. It was just like the best of the best on Arena at the time, and this
right.
was before Timeless existed. This was maybe like I think Historic really just started, um, and I liked the list, and I kind of wanted to see what if I could, you always kind of wonder like if this was my list, what would I change?
Mm-hmm.
And I found the list online and I imported it to Arena, but just by color order, one by one, because Arena, deck list is only up to 250, and that had like 540 cards or something like that. So I kind of made like a bunch of different deck lists and just kind of did like a whole white pile, a whole blue pile, a whole black pile, and so on. And then from there, I kind of like took out all the digital stuff, all
Always.
the alchemy cards, all the
Oh
rebalance
yeah.
cards, because I don't really care about that. Um, and then started putting in stuff that like, how was this not on the cube? How'd you miss this card? Or
Yeah.
like pet cards too, because everyone has pet cards. and started saving that. I mean, that's a long process itself because you need to figure out how many cards in each color to try to get like the right mix, the right ratio, the right mana value, the creatures to sorceries, instants, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Onik, can you explain for people that are maybe unfamiliar what exactly is a cube?
Yeah, sure. So if you know how to draft, you know how a cube works. Draft, like I actually have a pack of like Edge of Eternities right here. This is just your regular play booster. You have, 3 packs in front of you, 8 players at a table, open a pack, take 1 card, pass it down, take 1 card, pass it down. Cube is the exact same thing. The difference is that Cube is just nothing but bangers. It is a custom curated set of everything that you want to put in there. It could be all rares, it could be all mythics, it could be your favorite cards in existence, it could be whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to have a theme, but it's pretty much you're making a fully customized set of existing cards. You could do custom cards if you want to, but pretty much existing cards to make like the ultimate draft experience that you've always dreamed of. Like it's instead of opening this pack and getting like 1 or 2 rares, imagining opening one of these packs and like it's it's just like 10 rares in here. Like this is my cube setup. This is uh, this is what I got going on right now. Like it's 36 packs, 10 cards each, and total cube size of 540. So it's not set up right now, but like this is like a cube shell from Dragon Shield, to where you open up the pack and you could start kind of like doing a pick. Like clearly it's not set up right now. That's why everything's kind of multicolor here. I think no, these are all. What is this? This is just a mix of weird things. But that's kind of like a cube experience, and it is. These are all your cards, so of course you obviously want to take care of it. But because that it's all your cards, and hopefully your friends understand that, they're gonna take cards with consideration of actually playing, as opposed to like a price check. you know, so that's it kind of encourages more of a pure draft experience. And the other box here that I have is the land station and tokens. So as you can guess, these are the lands clearly, and then these are all the tokens that I have. Anything that my cube can, any kind of token my cube can produce is in here. So from like the orc army from bowmasters to where like rabbit tokens, treasure tokens, whatever tokens, including the things like on an adventure or the city's blessing and things like that.
Nice.
So I have it all plot and whatever. I have that all here. That's pretty much how my setup is here, and I did really kind of emphasize the presentation of it because I wanted to look pretty.
Yeah, yeah. So, when you are done drafting your cube, how do you put it back together?
Nervously because so if I have 8 players, well, yeah. So of course, every pack has 15 cards, and everyone passes them out, and everyone kind of they borrow lands, and then I make sure at the end of it, I separate all the basic lands, and then I count everything else. And if I don't end the count with an increment of 15, something's missing.
Uh-huh.
And I've had scares like that one too many times. But at the end, everything was fine because I missed a pile that was still sitting over there that someone's like, oh, that's my sideboard that I forgot about. Here you go.
Mm.
But I just pretty much start counting cards, and I just kind of start putting it into the packs without really caring what order, what colors they are. But setting up the cube to get ready for play is another challenge because like you're shuffling 540 cards or 360 or whatever cube size it is. Some people have their own like heuristics of like how to shuffle, how to seed. I do seed mine, meaning like every pack you open has at least 1 white card, 1 blue card, 1 black, 1 red, or green, 2 non-basic lands, and 1 multicolor.
Okay.
So 8 slots are dedicated to those colors, and then the other 7 is random. So the remaining I just shuffle into multiple piles and then just kind of allocate one card until each pack in front of me has like as if you're like kind of doing not yeah, pile shuffling
Yeah.
your own deck. It's kind of like that, but like 36 piles.
Okay.
You're just taking cards and just kind of going one by one and so on. And that's kind of how I shuffle my cube. And it's like initially it was like a 2.5, 3 hour process, but I really sped it up and I really started cutting corners to where like, I don't need to be this detailed or this intricate with it. And like, I figured out how to get it down to an hour and that's fine. Because you still want this thing to be shuffled and still be pretty random.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, you're brave to take that cube out in public because in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to have my real cube for at the house. I'm going to have my proxy version of the cube. I'm going to take it out in public. Then I'll be like, who's the scumbag who took my fake whatever?
Like I've taken my cube to 2 places, either my LGS or Magicon, and it's always in my hand. I don't put this thing in my suitcase when I travel or anything. It's in my hand because this thing is like like $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000 at this point.
Yeah.
Plus the deck boxes and the sleeves and the tokens and everything. It's not just a value of cards, but it's an expensive project. I'm sure some commander decks get that high in value, or your multiple decks rather. But like this is my baby. This is like I didn't play commander until like very recently, actually.
Yeah, I noticed.
My pet project. Yeah. But I put a lot of time and effort into this thing, and this is like still my number one thing. Like I love this thing. I love playing with it. It's a ton of fun. Like,
and so your cube looks very creature heavy.
It's pretty creature heavy because on like it's 540 cards. I don't know exactly how many creatures here unless I start getting the calculator out, but it's knowing that it's arena based. If you guys aren't familiar with arena, I would say roughly between it's close to I say modern power level. And modern, not that modern format itself is creature based, but that's when a lot of the creatures really started getting pretty good, especially in more in the recent years, like since Pioneer, I'd say. So it is creature forward because I kind of want that to be revolved. I kind of want Comet to be revolved around creatures, or at least at win cons. But there's still plenty of powerful spells in there. But like if you start going to like Vintage Cube, then you'll have like a bazillion artifacts and have access to more busted cards to where you can just kind of do infinite win cons and combos and things like that. Arena doesn't have access to all of that, so there's a lot of things that I can't really include in there. So if I can't include these artifacts or sorceries or whatever, instance of these busted cards, then it's going to be a lot more creature forward.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's pretty cool. One of my gripes with Cube is everyone's like, let's go play Cube, and it's always Vintage Cube, and I'm always just like, Cube has so much potential to be something really unique and like defined by you, and everyone's like, so I took the stock Vintage Cube list that's hot online, and that's what we do, and I'm like,
Nick, have you played Cube on? I know you play a lot of Magic Online. Have you played their Cube?
It's been a long time, but yeah, I've played the cube on Magic Online. I actually love the specialty cubes when they do that. Like they did a legendary cube one time. I thought that was super awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
They've done a handful of really cool cubes on there. Like I remember in Legendary Cube killing somebody by going Urza's Rage into Soren's Vengeance. Like that's how I killed him. The cube is so slow, and like the threats you can do also like every deck kind of works. You just have to like order your spells, and it was like really fun to just like. Aggro wasn't really great. You could do some beating down, but like, you're getting to turn like 6 to 10 every time minimum. I loved it.
That's the cool thing about Cube is you can like, kind of theme it or tailor it to your kind of like what you love about Magic the most. I've seen cubes that like all the creatures are just 1/1s. There's no creatures that isn't a 1/1. I've seen all kinds of different themes with cubes, and It intrigues me. I don't want to build one myself because honestly, I like having the cards right here. Like, I don't want to disrupt my collection by putting it all in a cube. Um, like my son came over
This
and we
is like
built.
6 commander decks smashed together. I
Well,
mean, you got 6
I
commander
already
decks.
have 6 commander decks. So, um, but talking to you, Nick, and talking to you, Onique, about cubes, it's kind of like it's got my wheels turning. So maybe one day I'll
Do
put
it.
together
Do it.
put together a cube. So, yeah, it seems fun to me. The concept seems fun. It's just taking that first step, getting the cards off the shelf.
I mean, you
No,
don't even have to like.
it's making the infinite list that you keep changing for weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't even have to like grab a stack of cards and start putting them in and everything. Like you could just as if you're making a commander deck and just start instead of worrying about the mana base or whatever, just put in all bangers. Like all of your favorite cards and whatever.
Yeah.
It could be like 100 cards each, for each color, and like all the dual lands or whatever lands that you're fixing and things like that. It could just be bangers.cube, and it'll be fun. There's a lot of different directions you can go. A friend of mine has a one drop cube. Everything is just 1 mana value.
You're like,
Yeah.
these lands suck so bad. I don't want to draw another land ever.
Yeah, so like I mean,
10 land deck or something.
pretty much you're often doing like 10, 12 lands or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so which means there's more weight in like in regular draft, with 40 card decks you have like 23 spells, but here you're going to like 30 spells.
Yeah.
So you're going pretty deep, which means you kind of need to put a bit more not really thought or effort, but like I guess consideration of how many cards are actually going to wheel, because you need to start going deep into your picks.
And how powerful are like dual lands in that cube? Like, because like if you're a 2-color deck and you have your one island or your one like plains, like if you have a 1 blue-white land, you're like, I can play everything.
Yeah, and then at the same time, it's like, well, if this land enters tapped, and I'm like, I feel like I'm a whole game behind.
You're right. Right.
It's not just one turn. It's just like, okay, well, I'm taking like the next like 6 turns off. It feels like.
Yeah, getting your first 2 lands is a huge deal. Every land after that, you're like, whatever. Yeah, it's fascinating how. But that's just having that little interim conversation there is like that little microcosm event where you're like the game is like fundamentally changed. Like any land past land number 2, you're like, get this out of here. Like I need more gas. That's fantastic. So one thing I'm thinking about, what people have said to me locally, because I just play, local. I haven't been to many conventions or anything in a long time. How hard was it to get people to start playing your cube once you put it together?
That was an interesting challenge, just because, like at conventions, that was part of the reason why I got like a group chat going, is so I can kind of have people in a group chat to say, hey, I'm going to do cube at Saturday at like 1 p.m. by the content creators area or something like that. So I kind of had like some interest there. Again, Adam and Dana Fisher have been so incredibly helpful, and if you haven't met them, they're so nice. Yeah. Adam is really, really such an awesome guy. He knows people, so he has an entourage of like, I don't know how many group texts this guy has, but it feels like he sends one text and like 17 people respond. There are times where like, I say that we're going to do a cube, and I have like 2 people with me. He's like, oh, I have like 7. I'm like, okay, sure. And then I feel awkward to where like it doesn't have to be like my friends, so to speak. It's just like I don't really care who plays as long as you're interested in playing a cube and you're just a cool person.
Yeah.
And Adam and everyone he knows checks that box. But that's, of course, let's say you don't have that, not support system, but you don't have the access to
the resources,
the friends.
the network.
Yeah, you don't have the resources to get that deep. For me, going to my LGS locally, on the local level, going to my LGS and just doing Friday Night Magic drafting week after week, getting familiar with the people over there who draft, who love to draft, and then talking to them, exchanging numbers, seeing them next time, and then instead of one Friday, or I mean, you still draft Friday, but like I try to do at least one Sunday every month, and I got a group text going. But this is after like months of going to the LGS, and I've known these guys for a long time at this point. Well, not that long, but maybe like 2-3 years at this point, to where I keep hitting them up. I keep showing up to the LGS and keeps, we're still doing Friday Night Magic, doing a regular draft, and then they're interested in drafting and they want to draft Power, so we started playing like that. But initially, it's like 4 people show up, so you have 5 drafters, which is not really enough for a draft. So we do sealed.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're still playing with the cube. It's not necessarily a draft, but we're still do sealed. And then I'm like, hey, if you guys have a +1, bring them over. No one has one. That's fine. I got 4 people next time. And then, next time, it doesn't happen because people have plans. So, okay, whatever, cancel, postpone. But like persistence, like it really helps to keep trying and like don't really give up on the fact, because like Commander, it takes like 2, 3, 4 people to get things going, and everyone plays Commander. Not a lot of people play draft.
Yeah.
So
crazy, because that was like so different. Not
yes,
I guess 10 years ago, but still,
yes.
Just I used to draft 2 times a week, maybe 3 times. Was how often I used to draft, and now I'm like, it feels financially wasteful to do it. It's like, because it used to be like, oh, let's pick the best card at the end of the draft. It's like, we're going to open a bunch of play boosters. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably get like a $20 card maybe, but the packs probably cost like, $21. So it's like, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
So. And then Magic Arena, if I want to draft, I can just go up on there. And since I've been a veteran player for all these years, like I have infinite treasure and whatever on there, so I just play for free. And
treasure,
whatever the stuff is on there,
gems and gold.
Yeah. I haven't played. I played when I stopped playing it because I realized I was wasting time playing that, and not playing in real life with my friends. And then I was like, I got on to play Final Fantasy because I was curious, and I just like, won a bunch, and then I'm like, oh, okay, log off, So I just like, so I don't know. It's just funny how little drafting there is now, and that was like a good way to get cards. Your friends get them, you get the singles you want with the draft. I love picking up like first pick is the card I need, like that's valuable, but then the other 2 picks are like, oh, I can play these in my decks, and kind of miss that thing. And this is a cool way to kind of bridge that gap, because I have a huge catalog of cards that I love, that I want to like shape to present to people, and like, hey, this is what I think is fun about Magic. Here are all these nostalgic cards, which I'm sure some people would be like, what the heck is this card, or this card sucks, but in the context it can be really good.
Yeah.
But with your cube, I'm sure a lot of people want to play it just because it's different, right? Having the arena style cube is like, it's got its own flavor, right? Like,
yeah, it's
before they're like right now, I'm like, I gotta play it. I want to play that, see what it's like.
I mean, it's still, it's like pretty much all the strong cards, all the bangers that you can find on Arena. It's not that like, if you open up like a pack or 2 of a cube, it just looks like a regular pack with a bunch of rares and mythics and a couple like key uncommons and whatever. It's not like you can instantly see a theme of like, oh, this is like an artifact forward cube, or like this is like Mana Valley 3 and under, or whatever. It just looks like a regular pack of powerful cards. But if I tell people that like, oh, this is everything that's on Arena, they're like, wait, this on Arena? Are you sure? I could put this on my historic deck. Yeah, you can actually. And that comes up pretty often, to where like you could put it in your historic deck or timeless deck or whatever. And people are like, and at the same time, it's not just Arena players, but it's also like some of the Commander players like, oh, actually this card's really good. I could put this in my so and so Commander deck. But it's really mostly the people who are familiar with Arena. Like if you know Arena, then you know what's in my cube, and that's an easier, I suppose, gateway to entry, whatnot, to because like I guess with your cube, with the nostalgia, a lot of people might be unfamiliar, so they're looking through the cards. 15 cards in a pack. They're probably reading every single card. Like, I don't understand what these do, but this one being Arena, if you know Standard, and you probably recognize like easy a third, half of the cards in here, especially now with the 3-year. You'll recognize most of the cards here, so you kind of flip through it easier. So it's a bit easier to understand, to grasp, and whatnot.
I don't know. In my cube, you could look at 15 cards, and it might be like all the text combined to be one new card. So,
Yeah.
one double-faced card equals all 15 of these cards. So.
Yeah.
Except for if you don't know what regenerate does, so we got to have that fun discussion of what that ability does. I'm tempted to put banning in. I'm so tempted.
No. Yeah, you better know the rules for that, because like you're gonna be playing a judge for that too.
I was a judge, so it's not. It wouldn't.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
So I can explain.
So Onique, how often do you update your cube? Do you like when a new set comes out? Do you update it?
I updated it like shortly before MagicCon in June. They did not include Final Fantasy. That included up through either Drift or no, the one after that, Tarkir,
yeah.
Dragonstorm. And so that was the last time I actually updated it. So and I really had to tell myself, stop updating this thing every single time a set comes out, because that is maddening. That is tiring. It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. I mean, everyone with the commander deck, and anytime with a new set comes out, you're like scanning the things to either A, I could build a new commander out of this, or B, this can go in my so and so deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's exhausting. And amplify that with 540 cards to where there is no central. There may not be a central theme to it. It's just kind of like all a bunch of good cards. It is tiring. So I haven't updated it since. So I guess I'm missing now Final Fantasy,
Edge of Eternities.
But I suppose the interesting / bonus thing about my cube is that there are cards that exist in the game that aren't an arena. So when they go into arena, it's like, oh, these are new options. These are new toys I can use, like the anthologies, the arena anthologies, whatever that just came out. It had there was 2 of them. There was one that was like all artifacts, all the talismans and signets and whatever. Like those are all existing cards.
Yeah.
But they weren't on arena. Now I can consider them.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then the second one is like, this one is juicy one. It has Mother of Runes. It has Mana Leak. It has Fiery Confluence. It has, Eternal Witness. It has Mox Opal, which is going to give me an aneurysm. Because that's like, how much this card is. It's like $160 card.
Oh, is it? I still have 4 from back in Scars of Mirrodin. So
I'll take one. Yeah, it's like $160 card. But it's good to arena, which means it's a new option that I can consider for my cube. So that is something it's pretty cool to me. So, bonus sheets are exciting. The bonus sheet for Edge of Eternities had the Stellar Sites, all the lands.
Yeah.
So now I get to consider Ancient Tomb, the Luck counter land, Gemstone Caverns, Strip Mine. These are like toys. It's like there is, again, none of these are, well, those 3, maybe Caverns aren't legal for Modern, but it does like really give power to my cube in a way that I couldn't really do it through a standard set. So so that's like one way I could really get some power into this cube is through these bonus sheets. And of course we have Modern Horizons 3, which also has a lot of power in there too. So there's a lot of cool things that that's kind of why I'm keeping it modern themed. Not modern themed, the arena themed, is because there's a lot of weird ways to get power into arena. So
yeah,
it's a fun process to upgrade, but like I think probably the next couple of weeks, maybe September, maybe October, I'm gonna update it through up to Spider-Man, not including Spider-Man yet, because I still need to figure that out and see what like the community thinks about those cards.
So you said you did have to curate this cube. I mean, obviously when you made it originally, there were probably a lot less cards on arena. What was that like? And then you also mentioned pet cards, so I'm curious about those. So how did you parse down this list? Like it's several cards.
Yeah, so I mean, cubes traditionally you can either do like 360 cards in a cube or 540. I guess those are your two most common numbers. 360 because 15 cards in a pack, 8 drafters at a table, 3 packs each. If you do 15 times 3 times 8, that is 360 cards. Every single card in your cube will be opened, it will be seen, and will be drafted if you have 8 players at the table. 540 is if you have 12 players at a table. So, two pods of 6, or if you want to do one, big pot of 12. But if you still have 540, if you still have 8 players, then 1/3 of your cube is not going to be drafted, which offers variance. Like let's say there's some 2 card combo in there. It's not guaranteed that the combo is going to be opened up, or you might be missing half, or whatever the case is. So that keeps things a bit interesting. But I went with 540, not because I have like 700 friends. I mentioned that it was kind of tough to get going, but because I can just put more cards in my cube to where I don't have to really agonize about cutting that to 540.
Yeah.
Or cutting that to 360 rather. And 540 is fine. It's good. It's fun. It all fits in this box, or these 2 boxes rather. But the process of for example, I have 72 white cards, 72 blue, 72 black, 72 red, 72 green, and I think my list started at 150 or something like that. So I had to cut more than half of the cards from my cube before. This was 3 years ago or so, and it was a tough process. But you kind of go, with arenas filters or whatever, you can kind of go by column, by your 1 drops and 2 drops and 3 drops, and you can filter by your creature count and enchantment count and artifact count, and kind of figure out what's more important, what's not. And it was just a long process of making sure that the mix felt right. It offered a little bit of something to everyone, because you don't want to be really biased either. The meme of blue players or this and that or whatever. You don't want to really mess with blue cards, for example, or kind of gimp it. You don't put counter spells in there, because you really want to have a experience that everyone can enjoy. Every type of player. If the hardcore control players, they'll eat it up. If you want an aggro list, if you want burn, if you want whatever, you want to try to offer something to everyone. Assuming your cube, the theme of your cube can accommodate that. But just cutting it down was a long process.
And then, did you have general heuristics for your mana values and your creature counts and stuff like that, or was it just kind of eyeballing it?
It was really eyeballing it. It kind of shaped itself the more I cut it, and after a while, because of course all the expensive card, all the high mana value cards are always going to be the most powerful ones, but also realistically they're going to be the ones that you are going to play a whole lot. This isn't Commander to where sometimes casting a 7-drop is trivial. Casting a 7-drop in a cube means you have to get to turn 7, and you don't want to be run over by whatever your opponent's doing at that time. So 7-drops are can you cast it reliably? Can you cheat this card out? Does it have alternate casting cost? If none of those really apply, then you probably want to consider cutting it, unless it's really, really game changing. One example, the recent example is all the Overlords.
Right.
From Duskmourn. Overlord of the Mistmoors is a 7-drop white creature, but it has Impending for 4 mana. Okay, that's one way to kind of cheat it out, basically.
Yeah,
but
it's discounted.
Yeah, but you kind of over time just you just kind of make the list work after a while, because you just kind of after a while you're gonna get frustrated of I'm tired of just kind of overthinking this. I'm just gonna run with this to see how it works. And then after playtesting with yourself, with friends, you just kind of do mock drafts. You kind of realize, okay, well, this is not really working, or this piece is redundant, or this card is the same thing as that, just more expensive, or just worse, or in the wrong game plan or whatever, and they just kind of start cutting cards from there.
Okay. What are your pet cards? I know you said pet cards, so I really want to get it stuck into that. I think that's the
Oh, I feel like
fun.
I have to go down like aisle by aisle.
Oh, there's so many.
It's like, well, I keep I've messed with this list so many times to where I really had to convince myself, like, this is not a good card. Like, it's fun, it's nice, but it's not that good of a card. Um, I don't even know what it is. I think maybe one example is Torrential Gear Hulk,
Hmm.
4 blue, blue, 5/6. It's not really getting cast too often. I mean, it is for a control deck, but like I don't know how good this card still is anymore.
Yeah,
But
I
I
get.
still like the card, and I kind of, one of my excuses is that like I'm trying to support an artifact theme, and it's an artifact. Is that good enough? Not really.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Magic's come so far. I remember back in the day thinking Snapcaster was like one of the best creatures of all time, and now I'm like, I'm not even playing this in like Commander most of the time, unless like I'm playing high power and you're like, snapping back your tutors or whatever, which I don't do. So,
Yeah.
so it's interesting to see how like a card that was so dominant at one point now in the like current metagame, it's like kind of like big whoop. Sweet card. I remember the dominating with that card straight up 2 for 1, and then I was like, well, you know,
Yeah. I mean, some cards just don't cut it anymore, and you really have to like have a conversation with yourself. Like, is this actually good still? Is this worth the slot? Um, I think recently maybe more of my quote unquote pet cards is like, oh, one thing is hardened scales. I love hardened scales. Plus and plus encounter themes is kind of one of my favorite things to play with, at least on arena, just because it does the math for you.
Yeah.
But if you're
yeah,
not really playing a specific archetype of the plus and plus encounter theme, you're not really playing hardened scales. It's more of a build around, and that's kind of tough to swing at times. Like I'm looking at this card now on my cube list, and I'm like, I got the pretty version. I don't want to cut this yet, you know. But how often is it actually being played? But the answer doesn't have to be high. It could be like as long as it's being played and it has a big impact, maybe like 10% of the time, it might be just fine in a slot. Maybe it's on like the cards to consider cutting to make space for new stuff. But at some point, I know I'm going to cut this card.
okay.
So
So
say
your cube experience is almost opposite of mine, where I'm like, when I'm playing this cube, I'm gonna have to make sure I keep the power level down low enough so that none of the like random cards I add in like outshine the cards I'm trying to have. Because
Yeah.
it's like it's like reverse of what you're doing, which is kind of interesting.
So, Anik, whenever you're
Uh,
putting cards in your deck, like you're taking cards out and putting new cards in, do you do like a 1 for 1? Like, do you say, I'm putting an enchantment in, so I'm taking an enchantment out? Or do you just decide card by card?
Typically, that's what I try to do. Like, as I mentioned, I haven't done any Edge of Eternity stuff yet. So, like one example, just I guess at the top of the list for Edge of Eternity is Cosmo Grand Zenith.
Hmm.
That's the 2 Y 2/4. When you cast your second spell, you either make a couple humans or put a counter on everything. That card is pretty powerful. Where is it going to go? What's getting cut? And then instinctively, I kind of look at the 3-drop white creatures and kind of go down the list that I have. I'm like, okay, what can take a spot? And then I kind of look down and I'm like, I like all these cards. I don't want to cut it. Maybe something in a 4-drop I want to cut. Maybe something in a 3-drop I want to cut. And one card I'm actually going to swap for that is very close to the same thing is Warren Warleader. It's a 4-drop, 4/4 rabbit from
Boomborough.
Bloomborough.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, to where like this one also makes tokens. This one also buffs your team. It feels the same, but I know from experience, no one really plays Warren Warleader a lot. I haven't really seen it cast like at all. So this is probably an easy swap here. But other cards, the next card on the list, Exalted Sunborn. That's a 5 mana 4/5. If you make tokens, you make double the amount. That's a 5-drop, and I don't have a whole lot of 5-drops on my list. But at the same time, Elspeth Stormslayer is also another 5-drop that also doubles tokens.
Right.
Do I just double up on that effect? Do I start going for like a token theme? It's like there's a lot of things I need to play around. I'm not going to swap Elspeth Stormslayer because she's just a crazy card.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to neglect Exalted Sunborn. But sometimes, the cards that I have on my list, they're good, but maybe they're not necessarily better than what I already have. But I also want to give a lot of these cards a chance to see if there could be really good or really powerful or interesting greeny. Because maybe the warp ability on Exalted Sunborn is like, that's all you really need to put this card over the edge.
Yeah, well, having that ability to cast a little early definitely gives it a ton of flexibility over other 5-drops.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe I just won't necessarily cut another creature for it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll find some other card that hasn't really, pulled its weight or something. But it's
like
just
like Smile at Death, for example. I see this in your cube. 3 white enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, return 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with +1 counter on those.
Yeah,
that card seems pretty soft. It would be an easy card to cut for Exalted Sunborn, but
don't call it soft. That's offensive. No, you're right. You're right, though. So...
you look at my cube. Every card in my cube is soft, so I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, that's a whole nother point right there. It's like, how long do you want to put a card in your cube for its trial period?
Yeah.
Tarkir is not that old of a set. It's just a couple months, really. How many times have I actually played my cube since I put it in? Maybe like 4 or 5 times, honestly. So how much of a trial has this card actually had? But then again, as you read it, it reads like a very powerful card. But this card is not just legal in Cube. It's legal in every format. Name a format where this card has seen play. Kind of nowhere, really. So that's another thing that you factor in while cutting a card. Is that like, well, it hasn't shown up in Standard. It really hasn't, shown up in Pioneer. Maybe this card is just not as good as it reads. Like, it reads insane, but does it play that way? Not really.
It reads pretty soft to me. You 5 mana to do nothing, and then on your upkeep, if you met a condition, you get some bad creatures back from your graveyard.
Wow.
That's how I read it.
But, I mean, well, yeah, everyone evaluates cards differently.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, your opinion is wrong or whatever, but like, this is good feedback. This is like, I appreciate the recommendation for a 1-for-1 swap, and this is probably what I'm going to end up going with, because in a way, like, these they play a similar role in the 5-drop slot. Exalted Sunborn gets you, helps get you tokens, and Smile at Death helps get creatures back. So in a way, they're both making creatures. So this is probably an easy swap that I need to write down somewhere, otherwise I might forget. But like, this is, but I
well, you can go back and watch. You can go back and watch this video.
yeah. But there's a lot of feedback that I get from the players who play the cube or who just look at the list. Like, they question these things, like, why do you have this card in here? Do you have a story for that? And sometimes it's like, yeah, because of this and that. And other times it's like, I wanted to try it. It looked pretty.
Yeah.
Well,
it's fun to get lost in this. So that's part of the fun of this, right? Is you gotta like, I'm gonna try this card. Maybe there's gonna be certain situations where you add a card that's not good in any of those other formats where it's like, but in my cube it is sparkling like a diamond. I would never expect them. Because cube in its own nature, you get a little longer games a lot of the time if you're not playing Power Cube, just because of the nature of limited. And even in Power Cube, like, their games are just like go on forever. So you might have an opportunity for a slow card to like live and do its dream. So
Yeah.
you know, so I'm hearing you there, and that's kind of the fun thing too. So you got to like just try just that like try aspect, and then you got to really get granular with the power level of things. And that's actually why I stray away from the power level edge of cube, because I'm like, I know how to go straight vertical on what's powerful for the most part. So I'm like, how can I do this vague thing where, things are not as clear as day, as like this is more powerful than that. Um, when
Yeah.
Just to take a second to talk about my cube a little bit. So back in pre-modern Magic, like we talked about earlier, like how your cube's very dominated with creatures. Back in pre-modern era, creatures are bad, like very bad, and the spells are like ridiculous. So my first foray into cube, I tried to make a Shards of Alara ish cube where it was like a lot of Shards of Alara cards. Started adding other stuff. Started changing. It became just like an amalgam. And then I realized when I was practice drafting it that I was leaving a lot of the Shards of Alara cards to the side, picking like newer cards because they do more stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I realized that um, if you're trying to make a setting or something based on a time period, you can go forward with some of the things, but you can't like. What I basically came to the conclusion of, the threats have to all be kind of equalized. The answers can be whatever. So the questions have to be kind of in a range, but the answers can be kind of at a higher scale. So like you can play Verdant Force and Swords to Plowshares. They go together, even if you like downgrade that to like O-ring, you don't have to, because the answers aren't proactive and won't outshine the threats, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. So I found that fascinating, just like an interesting heuristic. Um, and also, if I don't know if you guys watch any pre-modern content or anything like that, but it's a very like circular format. Like cards just kind of ebb and flow. Like there are best in class cards, but just to go and see, you can see the way Magic used to be made. Like every card exists in the context of another card for the most part. Like yes, there were direct upgrades, but like if you go back and look at some creatures, you're like, how much better is this creature than this other creature? Like contextually, it matters. Like Rocks and Silvos, like you can just say Silvos is better, but Rocks actually has some interesting situations where it's better than Silvos. So it's kind of uh, neat to see how Magic was designed through that time, and like how like particular they were about that. Where now in modern Magic, you have cards that just like exterminate other cards in value, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
like you're like Questing Beast or Ravenous Baloth. It's like Questing Beast. Like it's not close. It's in like a different universe. But yeah, I just these are the type of fun questions that we got to kind of bring up and um, kind of get into in Cube. Um, Were there a lot of cards that you added to your cube that kind of made archetypes? Like, I don't know if you have archetypes, but I see some cards that would like demand an archetype, like Yorion, for example, is in your cube. I know it's on Arena, but that card really needs something to blink to be doing something. When you added Yorion, were you like, what other cards can this work with?
So when I first built the cube, I was really stuck on having archetypes for each color. Like the traditional like white blue was blink, blue black was like a control something, black red was sacrifice, and things like that. So
Okay.
I really had archetypes and I really had a bunch of cards that supported that theme, to where it felt I didn't want it to be, I guess, necessarily on rails, but I wanted, just because the card pool was a bit limiting, I wanted more of a suggestive path of what you could do. And then over time, as more cards came out, I really had to like stop and think, okay, like how much longer am I gonna support this archetype, or am I just gonna like say, to heck with it and start cutting some of the weaker supporting archetype cards in favor of a generically powerful card that can kind of go in any deck. So, um, things like, one thing that's going to be cut pretty soon is in white, like teleportation circle. I mean, the same thing as the blink or flicker, whatever, the blue white theme.
Okay.
Teleportation circle at beginning of your end step, exile artifact or creature or whatever, bring it back. Like that card, if you have a dedicated blink theme, it can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't really have that anymore. Like, I mean, you can still do a blue white blink theme, because I also have what's that cat? Displacer Kitten.
Yeah.
Which, that's by itself is still, I think, pretty powerful. Could do some interesting, fun things. There's a nice build around, but it doesn't need a whole archetype around it. So like Displacer Kitten is still probably getting a slot for a little bit longer, while Teleportation Circle is probably gonna get cut. Yorion, I think for some people it's just fun to build around, just because like maybe you could actually try to go for a 60 card deck or something. Do you need to necessarily? But there's still plenty of ETB creatures. It doesn't have to be blue white. It could be like white red or blue black or something.
Yeah,
so,
and also you get to trap that person into building that 60 card deck. So
if they want to go that deep into picks, yeah, sure. I mean, I've tried it before, and then I realized it's like, I'm maybe like 55 cards into my deck, after lands, and I'm like, I'm gonna cut back to 40.
Yeah. Skill testing cards in your cube.
Yeah.
Are they gonna go 60 cards? Ooh, good luck. And then when you lose to the guy who does that, you feel like real bad.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to always have that drafter that's like, I got to play 41. And it really isn't that much different than 40, but man, it was always like, but it's not better.
Yeah.
But one of the best drafters I know would run 41 from time to time. And I was always like,
this 41 card special or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my every pre-release.
Yeah.
They're not decking me today.
But like some of the archetypes that I had with, like, black green, graveyard themed, is like the generic archetype. But like, am I gonna focus on like self mill and reanimating and this and that in my cube? Not really, because at the time initially I had my black white was reanimator, and then I kind of I put some like just bad cards in the cube to try to support it, and then I started cutting those, and I'm like, okay, it just feels natural. It just feels a bit more organic to like have people decide what they want to do without having to pick these just bad cards. Because like even then, like if they do black white, you're just if the black white archetype is reanimator and people play black white, they weren't really doing the reanimator theme. They just picked good black white cards and kind of hope for the best. And most of the time, it actually worked out better than doing the reanimator thing.
Your cube has some fun cards that I remember from when I was playing Arena a lot. I played a red-green deck that played what was that card? Season of Gathering or something?
From Boomborough?
No, it's a 2-mana. It's something. It's a green and 1. It's an enchantment. It's when you target a creature you control, you draw a card. When a creature enters, you scry.
Oh, yeah. It sounds very familiar.
It's from like Ravnica Allegiance or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't see it in your cube, but I remembered it because you have in your red-green, you have in your drill pile, you have Ashroot Animist, and you have Helena and Elena, or Helena and Elena partners. And I've tried to make that commander deck a few times, and I knew they were kind of stacking up a theme of like, this creature powers up this other creature in red-green. So I was happy to see Ashroot Animist. I'm like, ooh, do I need to go back to that commander well and build that deck again? Because I played in standard the Kranko that's like you get X goblins equal to its power when it attacks. So you swing with it, pump it, make like 5 dudes, and then you scry like 5, and then the next turn they're like screwed. So just it's cool looking through this cube. It's giving me more concepts and ideas of like, and again, it's just slightly different. So it's like, I didn't even know this card was a thing.
Yeah, like Ashroot Animus, for example, it's not like that. Maybe some people will say it's just a bad card. I think the card's totally fine. 4 mana, 4/4 trample. When it attacks some other attacking creature, gets +X equal to this one's power. So it's +4/+4 and trample, and that's pretty powerful. But this cube doesn't necessarily need to be played by like the best drafters out there. It could just be like, I've drafted twice before ever. How does a cube work? And they'll still have fun with this.
Yeah.
They're still going to pick generically good cards. They'll put cards together, and they'll still going to have fun with it. Like, it doesn't have to be the best of the best. It's as long as you just put your generic fundamental deck building tools in there, it'll be fine.
What's the breakdown?
Yeah,
what's the breakdown on rarities of your cube?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care.
So
I don't pay attention to that.
Okay, so that was kind of what I was leading into. My question is, do you consider rarity when you put cards in? So no.
No, not at all.
Okay.
If the card is good, I'll consider it. Like, and that's another thing too. You don't know if cards are going to be good when they first release. Like, Smile of Death, that enchantment we talked about. Like I said, it reads really good, but I haven't had much time to play with it. But everyone else has in standard and other formats, and it really hasn't done anything. So that card's going to get cut. Some cards you don't consider, and then it turns out to be a banger. Like I initially overlooked Innkeeper's Talent from Bloomburrow, the green class enchantment. That card's nuts.
Yep, that card is crazy.
Yeah, and some other cards. So like maybe they're just kind of like a standard all-star, or just right next to Innkeeper's Talent is Up the Beanstalk. That card's also really powerful in standard, and I put it in my cube, but I don't know how much longer it's going to go in my cube because it's very conditional. It's maybe too much of a build around, and that's not really a card that you really want to build around it. So I might cut that card, but maybe in a way this is kind of like a pet card because I wanted to kind of give a nod to acknowledge that this card exists, but now it's banned in standard. I think it's banned in standard. It's banned in modern. This card does powerful, crazy things. I could turn on my cube. It does nothing.
Yeah.
Like it replaces itself. Maybe you get an extra card out of it, but is that worth the slot? Not really.
Yeah.
Like I have Grief, I have Solitude. Like those are just powerful cards. Well, Grief is 4, but Fury is what I meant.
Yeah.
Those are powerful cards, and they can work well with Up the Beanstalk. But if you're not drafting those, or the Overlords, for example, but like you really need to consider these things. But sometimes you're going to make these quote unquote like slot mistakes. You make a card swap, put it in there, and then hope for the best, and then it's not doing what you wanted to do, so you cut it again.
Right.
And there have been cards where I cut before to where like, no, I put it back in. No, I cut it out, and then I put it back in again. There are cards I've bounced back and forth with.
Like you're not good enough. You're good enough. You're never good enough. What is it? You don't love me. The relationship is still falling apart.
Yeah, Sedgemoor Witch was one of those cards.
Yeah.
Tuna Black, 3/2 Menace and Warpay 3 life and Magecraft. Whenever you cast instant sorcery, you make a pest token. That's just a generically good card. It doesn't have to fit any kind of archetype or whatever, but I cut the card for something else, and then I put it back, and then I cut it, and I kind of forgot about it, and I think I sold it, and then I realized, why did I cut this? Where is it? I can't find it, so I just bought another one.
Yeah.
So
also you have to consider the pimpness of your cube. It looks like all the ones I see in here, you have a lot of the best versions, right? Is that a thing you try to do?
Of the
all your Triumph, like the alternate art. Maybe that's what it auto loads. I don't know.
No, that was manual. It's every like for this one on Cube Cobra, every picture or art version that comes up is the one that I have in my cube.
Oh, perfect.
I think maybe with the exception of like 1 or 2, which is I don't know why I haven't updated it, but like, where is it? Oh no, I should change it. Shadow Spear. It's just a generically good equipment. that on this one I had the extended art or whatever it is. When I
Mhm.
thought I had it in my cube, but I don't. It just has a regular one. So I try to make it visually match, I suppose.
Yeah, that's gonna be the sad part about my cube. It's gonna be like,
It's one version
oh,
only.
it's gonna be very mismatched. Like some of them, I'm like I was just thinking about it how like I have the what are they called? The diamonds. I have the diamond cycle as my mana rocks,
Oh right.
and and I'm like, which version am I gonna use? Like I love the way the old fire diamond looks, but like I look at the other four and I'm like, can't do it. Like can't do it. You gotta be the new arts now, But which new art? It's kind of fun to do that.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I'm on eBay trying to lowball for like foil old cards. Like, I need like no one's buying this fucking rocks you have from Nemesis. I know you have it listed as $30. I will give you $7. Stuff
that
like
it
that.
that is one thing too. I kind of consider for my cube is really the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
Like as you mentioned, like alternate art or extended borderless, whatever, all that stuff. Like I want it to be visually fun, but I also want it to be legible because it
Right.
is a again, don't forget, cube is a shared experience. Everyone
Mhm.
is going to be looking at your cards, passing it around, touching it, shuffling it, and of course, most importantly, reading it.
Yep.
They want to be able to read the cards and know what it does. Some people are like, "Oh, I have the secret lair version of this card. Do you want it?" Like, there's offering you could have this version, and I'm like, "No, I can't because it's not in English.
Yep.
It is in English, but the wording on it is just so like convoluted and strange, and like it has like this weird bending arc to it, and like the text box, it has a lot of words, but they're all really really small because they're focusing on the art. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to like take a card and like put it to your 2 inches from your face trying to read all the tiny words on there because it's just a lot to read and it's hard to look at. It's like no, just give me the regular boring version of it because you can read it.
Well, half the time they have the wrong information on them too. Their instants and sorceries are switched around, and creatures. Coma was misprinted recently, so yeah.
Right, yeah.
Or they're the opposite alignment. I freaking hate those. Those are like they're all reversed. Like
The
man,
left-handed
man.
ones.
Yeah. Oh,
Ew, no,
yeah.
ew.
You know what I mean? You're like, it's just
Nothing against left-handed people, but like, no, gross. Stop it.
your eyes aren't left-handed.
Yeah, but like some of these cards, yeah, actually, a perfect example is the for that arena anthologies. The thing I put on arena is Rofellos, Llanowar Emissary. That's on a reserve list.
Yeah.
Do I want to put a reserve list card in my cube? I don't, because a like I don't want to go down this like Rofellos is the one that really I had to have a conversation with myself. It's like, okay, if Arena's going to have more and more powerful cards, do I just kind of go with it, or when do I draw the line of like, all right, I want to kind of keep a certain theme to it,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to put reserve list cards on it because it maybe down the road at some point you're going to put some more busted stuff on Arena. Um, of course, like extreme examples, all the Moxen or whatever, but like, let's say if they put Mox Diamond or something, like that's probably fine for Arena. Am I going to go out of my way to get a Mox Diamond or something? I don't know. Sure, proxy friendly. I don't mind that, but at what point do I keep going? I like all the cards in my cube to have a common look to it. I don't want to. I'm choosing not to go with versions that are pre-modern. Like I do like the pre-modern look, or I guess a classic look, if you will, retro.
Hmm.
But I don't want it to be. I kind of want everything to kind of have the same
Yeah.
visual aesthetic, I suppose, as much as possible.
Yeah.
Man, you're making me kind of a little torn because I'm like, I want the OG Darksteel Colossus in my cube, but it just says artifact creature. It doesn't say artifact creature golem. It's
Or
like,
construct. Oh yeah,
yeah,
Golem.
it just says artifact creature, no typing. So it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, because like those little things, it's not like it's a big consideration, but it's something that you might want to think about,
Yeah.
as you kind of go into your queue. Because I'm looking at your list now, like two cars next to each other is, when I was big into Magic back then, Blazing Spectre and Blood Pet. I love
Yep.
Blazing Spectre. I love that car so much. Creature hyphen Spectre. Cool. Right next to it, Blood Pet. Summon Thrall.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
Yeah. Like I remember I used this card a lot in the mono black deck, back in the day. But if you can still play with old cards, but you gotta play with today's rules.
Yeah,
You
for
know
sure.
that's the thing, and like if you're playing with old school
Well, hold on.
players,
Actually, I don't know if you have to play with today's rules. So I was
well,
considering making damage on the stack.
you could. You could do damage on a stack. You could do
Mana burns back, baby.
yeah,
Oh,
mana
shit.
burn with mana flare, and if you want to heartbeat a spring or whatever,
Yeah, there you
sure.
go.
Or interrupts and mana sources and all that, like Blood Pet says. Um, but yeah, for like old school players, which is the three of us, like we'll recognize most of these cards and understand what it, in our brain will say is ourselves what it says in the current text.
Right.
Sacrifice Blood Pet, add black. But newer players or inexperienced players or ones who've really only played Commander for the past 2-3 years, they're not going to know any of these cards because they're not going to come up in their own searches. So that's a bit of a challenge to get them on board because it's always awkward when you draft any set, like a new set, for example, and then someone says like, "How does this card work?" But they don't want to say what card it is,
Right.
but they want to know how it works. And the times where it's come up in my cube, it's like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it does that. Because they're kind of explaining it or describing it to like a specific, maybe there's only one card in my cube that has Convoke, and maybe the Convoke doesn't have reminder text, for example. And it's like, okay, what does Convoke do? Oh, that creature that does this and that and whatever. With the old school cards, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it needs to be.
But
every card needs to be user friendly and be able to be played by all skill levels.
So check this. So this is funny. This came up when I was doing my cube. So they do like the those fork or the reprint the list cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I love that they're like the old art and all that stuff. But in my brain, I'm also like, update the rules text.
Yes.
Like, just update that, please. Like I just looked at Puppet Strings, for example, that's in my cube. And if you look at now, there's no like text that needs to be updated really on this particular card, but like it's just the same old card. But there's other ones that are like just have the old wording and all that stuff. And part of my brain's like, shouldn't you update that, to make it more like functional? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe there's no happy medium. I mean, I'm happy these cards exist in Black Order and being reprinted at all. Like maybe like Phyrexian Colossus, for example, the list version just says artifact creature. It doesn't say artifact creature. What is it, Golem or something?
Yeah, or construct or something.
Or Golem, yeah. It doesn't say Golem. It just says artifact creature. So I'm just sitting there like, why in this instance is it the exact old card? I'm happy you made another copy so I can get it, but why? But I do love that Wizards has been doing all these old school treatments and stuff, slowly making it so that I can, keep some of the new with the old,
Yeah.
I also want the like old Ravnica vibe. If they would do some of those old style cards too, that'd be sick.
Like another example is like the card, like, two cards next to it, depending on how you're viewing it. Plated Slagworm. Yeah. Plated Slagworm can be the target of spells abilities your opponents control, aka Hexproof.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Some people will read Hexproof and instantly know what it is, but if they read out this full text of this, I guess a reminder text, if you will, they'd be like, I don't know what this means. Oh, Hexproof? Why can't you just say that?
Yep.
No.
Yeah. So why not put in the easiest to read one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these are the fun little minutiae we get to do, um, when we're building cube. Um, yeah, I actually, the way I started my cube was I took M10 and I started just changing cards from M10. Like it was M10, every card from M10, and then I added cards that I liked for each 5 colors at around the same mana value as I went from like 1 to 6, until I got to 360. And then I started swapping out cards for like more interesting cards. Like I think Holy Strength was in M10, so I was trying to find like cards that are the same. Like so, I put in Solid Footing, which is like, it does something interesting instead of just being like +1
Oh,
+2.
yeah.
Um, but it's still kind of soft, but like kind of dynamic. So it just, and I don't know how many hours you spent on your cube, but man, I haven't even played this one. I haven't even put it in the thing to draft it once. I'm like, and all I want to do is just keep doing that. It's like just keep tweaking it's like the ultimate deck building experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just gonna tweak it here and tweak it there. I'm doing, and it's not one where you're like, when you build a commander deck, you're like, I'm gated into these colors. Then you have an idea and you're like, oh, I can't do that without going into a new color and having a whole different deck. This is like, oh no, everything's in. Everything can be in.
Everything is a consideration. I think building a cube is one of the most challenging things you could do in Magic. And because it takes a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge, a lot of patience, a lot of experimenting to keep messing with it, and also making sure it's balanced to where it offers something for everyone. If you realize like, oh, like green is a little bit too powerful, it has a lot of answers for everything, we need to balance it out. So do you kind of like make the other colors better, or do you kind of make green a bit weaker? You need to figure that out. There's a lot of play testing. There's a lot of like trying to get the mana base right. Do I have enough basic lands in here? Do I have enough not basic lands in here? Fixing, removal, answers, threats. Are too many cards that can't be countered or can't be regenerated or whatever. Like all these little things. There's so much to consider in there. But if you think about every little thing like that, it's going to be maddening. Like,
yeah,
your feedback comes from talking to people and playing it and talking to them once they're done with it. What cards did they pick first? What cards did they cut? What cards? Maybe blue was overdrafted at one table. Why was blue overdrafted? Oh, because actually, like every good blue card was open, so that kind of makes sense. Were all the blue decks good? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just like just talking to people, so you get a lot of feedback that way.
So, if what kind of advice would you have for somebody that kind of wants to get into building their own cube?
I think step one is really figuring out what kind of theme that you want to go with. Like building a cube, cool. Now you have 30,000 cards to consider. You're gonna get sick. That's a lot to look at. Where do you start? You could pick a theme. You could pick like the retro theme that you're going with. You can do the arena theme that I have. You could do a standard themed cube. You could do commons only. You could do mana value 2 and less. You could do or only uncommons. You could do like you can start making things up. Like there's a cube out there that only depicts females on the card art. Which is kind of crazy, but like, so when cards get reprinted with new art, it's like, oh, this is a female on the art. Yeah, it is. Sweet, I can actually finally play this card. Yeah. There's so many different things, and then once you kind of have that theme, then it really starts to narrow down what cards you can put in your deck. Narrow down what you can put in the cube. But like, don't rush this. Building a cube takes a long time. It's for me to really get the cards narrowed down to 540 on my first iteration was about 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And that was like working on it for like 2 or 3 hours a week. Because it's hard to work on something that you don't actually get to play or get to use or even get to hold. Because it's like you're just making kind of random deck lists online to where like you go to Architect or Moxfield or whatever, and you just have like this mono white deck. That's not really a deck, but it's just like a list of like 150 cards that you just kind of edit. and after a while you just kind of get bored of it, and you just okay, I don't want to look at this anymore, and this, which is fine. But you do need to kind of keep going back to it over time until you feel like you have it down to a good amount of cards. You got to balance these things. You got to consider, there's a lot of things that goes into it, but take your time. Don't rush it. The more time you give it, and the more time you give it, the better the result's going to be.
So would you recommend going color by color, just focusing on, one color at a time as you're building?
Yeah, I would say so. Because most, just like a regular draft archetype, multicolor cards have its own archetype. So you can even maybe start with like an archetype theme of like if you want each color pair to have a theme in common. So you might even have like a separate deck list, quote unquote, for like blue black cards, and then like green white cards, and so on. But color by color was probably the easiest way to start going about it.
What?
I highly recommend for inflationary purposes, because I've been playing Commander for so many years, and they give you those little heuristics online, this many, this many, this many. I would say, since I'm doing my first cube, to save myself some of that, because I have Commander deck lists that have been like, well, here's my deck, my 3-color deck that's 500 cards in my Architect. Some of those go over to the maybe board. I'd say just slot your numbers and try to fill it up, and then go from there. That way you'll just, you'll never be too many over, or have it become such a daunting task that you'll never want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So what are some resources out there that you guys use for your cubes to build them online?
I mean, for me, Cube Cobra,
okay,
which is just the website. You can kind of look at other people's cubes, and at the pretty much at the top of it, it has like the card count, like 540 cards, 360, and then it has at the top of each column it says how many cards are in there for each color. Like I have 72 white, 72 blue, and so on. 71 multicolor, even though somehow it counts. Golo says 5-color, sure. And 86 lands, but like you don't need to follow that. But that is a rough guide of how many cards of each color or each column you want to consider. So if you want to do 540 cards, you can maybe start with like, you don't have to start with 72 cards, but like if you have 150 red cards in your consideration, try to get it down to around 80, which again, it's going to be a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be the exact perfect number. As long as you can get it down to like an approximation.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of figure out where the rest of it's supposed to go. Like maybe there's like an artifact card that has a green activation cost that probably falls into the green category more than the artifact category. Things like that. You want a little bit of flexibility. Or like a red card has a blue kicker or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right with you on using Cube Cobra. I think that's the greatest place because you can test your cube right there. I also have been using Architect just because I like its layout feature. Maybe I'm just not as sophisticated with Cube Cobra yet, but I'm really there. And seeing if your local community has like Discords for your play groups, maybe you can find some like-minded people around to play in your cube once you make it, to see, if it's going to appeal. Like if you're really worried, I'm not really worried. I know I'll have some captive audiences at some point at my place and be like, we're playing this. But I know for some people, finding that connection's hard. So having that little community, so you can be like, hey, I'm going to build this cube. Would anyone ever want to actually play it?
Well, you do have a new option now because Wizards introduced this pick 2 format where you can play with four players. So there's that. And I know, Onique, you mentioned earlier about just doing a sealed with the cards too instead. So
yeah, I mean, you could do that too. Like once you kind of have like a consideration pile going or whatever, like it could be physical, it could be something digital, but I'm sure most websites, depending on what you want to use, have an option, probably more Cube Cobra than Architect. But they could kind of like, you can do like a mock draft or a mock sealed or whatever, to where it just kind of like it just you could kind of like test run it to do a draft, do a sealed, whatever, build a deck. You're not actually playing with it, but at least you kind of get the feeling as if you open packs.
Yeah.
You kind of figure it out. Is this right? Maybe like you have red is too predominant, or maybe it's like, oh, there's actually way too many high mana value, or I have like way too many enchantments or something like that.
Yeah, I also love when you're building a cube, and if you're getting really specific with your niche, is trying to find like weird cards to fit it. And I was trying to find a card the other day to fit one of my cards I was subbing out. I can't remember at the point. I think it was like Bolduvian Horde or something. It's like a 4 in a red for a 4/4 that's like has to attack each turn if able. It's common. I want to swap that out, and I was like looking for a card that was like a 5-drop evasive creature in red because I felt like that would be more useful. So I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm like trying to find, and then I find like what's the original giant? It's like
Hill
two-headed
giant
of no, it's like two-headed giant of four Mories or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's the best card, but it's kind of goofy looking. And then I look around and I'm like, I'm looking around, and then I have to like look through the annals of Magic to find something that fits. And then I find like Shatter Skull Recruit, like 3 red for a 4/4 menace. And I'm like, this kind of works. It's simpler. It does the thing. And just it's fun trying to find that and finding random spots where you're like, I feel like Magic has a million of these. And it's like, nope. There aren't so many of this particular card, even though there's 30,000 cards. There's like, well, there's some cards, So, but yeah, it's such a fun adventure. You look at cards you never see before. Just such a cool experience.
Onik, is there anything you want to add before we wrap up about Cube?
Not that I can think of. I think the only thing really I haven't touched is like don't neglect the mana base. Like I'm a big sucker for lands. I love lands. You want to make sure that like you could put all the banger spells in the cube as you want, but you also need to make sure you put plenty of non-basic lands in your cube too. Doesn't have to be the best of the best. You don't need like the fetches and shocks and surveils and triumphs, and you don't have to have all those. As long as you have like ways to fix mana, it could be like the budget friendly and just tapped. It could be the gate lands. It could be the snow covered lands. Like it could be like the thriving lands. Like add red or choose a color and add that color to, or something like that. Just you want to be able to cast the spells and have people have mana be fixed or whatever. Mana fixing rather. So don't neglect your lands.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything you want to promote while you're here? I know you have your own podcast, right?
Yeah. Which actually set the record in a couple minutes too. So timing is perfect. Foundations of Magic is my podcast. Me, Richard, Dennis, we've been doing it since the beginning of the year. So actually now like 9 months. I on Facebook. You can find me Onik. There's like only one Onik, ONNIK. That's going to be me.
Your Magic Nonsense page.
Yeah, my own page, Magic Nonsense. I just kind of post whatever I feel like. It's a page, not a group, so pretty much it's up to me to keep it going. But also, I'm big in the Magic Beginners group.
Yeah.
Because like I love helping and teaching new players get into Magic and because like this game gets better when you have more people to play with.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
If we don't teach new guys, and we're just gonna be left with people who are going to be exiting Magic pretty soon because of the Universes Beyond stuff or whatever they want to complain about.
Yeah,
we've complained, but a lot of us are still here.
Oh, exactly.
or they're like I'm out, and then they're like crossover with my favorite IP.
Oh yeah, I hate Universes Beyond unless they do this one thing.
Yeah,
like, well, you're part of the problem. You can't complain about it and then wish for the same thing.
They're like, wait, hold on. My IP? Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Onik, to talk about your cube. I'll put a link to your cube in the description here, and a link to your podcast too, if you want me to. And
yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Nick, you got anything before we head out?
No, I think that's it. I think we talked everything Cube I had to say. So,
All right. Well, thanks guys for hanging out, and don't forget to like, shower, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.